this digital age, probably because I was like very close to 60s, born in the 60s. You know, the analog time and the digital time is such a vast difference. And on a day-to-day basis, we find that we spend 8 hours just on the computer. And our mind is actually working so fast because things need to be generated in even a shorter span. So, what would you advise, for us to calm ourselves? Because 8 hours of intense thinking, searching through the internet, getting information up to the bosses and all that. It is so challenging. And by the time you come back, you're so tired and all that. How then would we really become more mindful and calm our mind? Sorry.
Very relevant question. There's a few different ways I would deal with this problem. One may be what you might say is on the preventative side. Don't spend all your time on the computer with your work. Don't spend all your time thinking about your job. You may have to spend many hours doing that. You may have very many responsibilities and you can't escape, okay? But make sure you pick some quality time for other important parts of your life. Be a fulfilled, rounded person. So you have family, you have your own personal spiritual development, you have hobbies or other things that bring you enjoyment. They're also important. And they're not necessarily taking you away from your job, but if you get plenty of rest and you have these other more fulfilling activities, when you come back to your job, maybe you can keep a better state of mind, better clarity, a better sense of ease within yourself as you approach this demanding job, many hours on a computer, say. So that may be one thing. Don't neglect other aspects of your life. One day you will leave that job. Either you move to another job, or you retire, or conditions change. You won't be with that job forever, so don't give everything. Don't sell your soul to the company. Give them something, of course. You have to give them your knowledge, your skills, because they're paying you. But don't give everything, because it's not everything. And one day you'll move on, someone else will be doing that job, and they won't be thinking of you anymore. So don't give everything to the job. So another part of that may also be if you develop some kind of regular meditation practice. That may be a good thing to do. Again, it's preventative, gets you much more in touch with yourself. It's time to let things come up. And that can be walking meditation as much as sitting meditation. So going for walks, maybe in a formal way, formal walking meditation, we go walking back and forth, which you can do even in a little room or in your house or around your house. But you can also go for walks around the park, the garden, some place. But just walking, not using your phone, not doing other things, just walking mindfully and allowing things to come up, allowing your mind to reflect on things, let go of things, understand things better as you walk, or also at least 10 minutes of sitting meditation in the morning, relaxing, bringing the mindfulness to the breath, practicing letting go, because that's a skill that you can bring up at any other time as well. If you're practicing regularly, you'll be familiar with it. So say you're in the middle of an 8-hour stint in front of the computer. Well, okay, after an hour or two, you're going to need to stretch, move around. So physically, you've also got to look after your body, rest your eyes, come away from the screen for a while, do a few other things. And you may also take a few minutes sometimes just to breathe in, breathe out mindfully, or close your eyes. You're sitting there, you just close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. Re-establish awareness in the present moment before you carry on. So this is more bringing mindfulness and good practice into your heavy work day. So one is looking after your physical health, so get enough time to stretch, exercise, change posture, and you can do that as a mindfulness thing. In your day, your lunch break, you can do some yoga or Tai Chi or these things, or go for a walk or do some meditation. up to you to see the value, the importance of these other activities to support your mental and physical health, and which will support your work. So if your boss says, "Why are you meditating in your lunch break?" You say, "Because when I come back from lunch break, I'm going to be able to work more mindfully, better, I'll be more concentrated, my mind will be in a better state." What boss could complain about that? But you have to see where you can introduce more of this kind of thing. Even if it's only 1 minute of relaxed, mindful breathing in the midst of a busy morning, a busy afternoon. And then you also need to introduce some wise reflection, what we call yoniso manasikara, wise reflection. So say you, as you say, at the end of your day, you're always tired. By the time you get home, you're very tired, mentally tired, physically tired. Okay, if that's happening regularly, and it will, number one is be aware of the problem or the situation. And you may not be able to avoid it. Everyone gets tired with their work all day long. So you know the problem, you know this situation, develop some skillful strategies for dealing with that part of the day when you know you'll be tired. That's not the time to discuss important emotional business with your husband or your children or somebody. That's not the time to talk about the delicate, sensitive issue, is it? Because you're going to be tired, you're not going to give it full attention. Leave those things for times when you've got more time, more relaxed. When you're tired, be careful. We get irritated, we make mistakes when we're tired. So be aware of that, and then your thinking, your activities, as you become more tired in the day, adjust your activities to suit that fact, to be in line with that fact, to help yourself. If you're getting too tired too many days, you might get run down and get ill. So watch that, and don't give in to the desire just to keep work until you're burnt out. Catch yourself before you're burnt out, before you get ill, before things go wrong. Catch yourself and see the value of sometimes stepping back, resting a bit more, changing your activities. And if it makes you stronger and more happy, have a better sense of well-being in yourself, then you'll be able to work better as well. So it's not a clash between other things and work. It's just a more fulfilled, enhanced life, introducing other things as you work. So partly it's about attitude, partly it's about having a few strategies and things that you can do to help yourself, especially when you do get tired. If you do meditate regularly, that's one thing that will really help you. And it doesn't have to be long periods of meditation. It can be 10, 15 minutes of meditation. It can be a really useful thing to introduce into your daily routine.
Is there any question?
With the advance of the digital world and internet, nowadays we are bombarded with all sorts of sad news, like war in Ukraine, suicides of singers, popular singers, actors, actors. So how should we react to it, especially the youngsters?
Right.
Thank you very much.
As we say, it's IT, information technology is huge in our lives now. But we have to learn, because it's huge, you're now exposed to the whole world, information from the whole world, whereas before you might just know what's going on in your immediate neighborhood, workplace, it's a much smaller area. Now you know about wars in strange parts of the world you've never been to and don't know anything about, but you know there's a war there and people are dying, or there's an earthquake, or illness, or like you say, people who are in the news commit suicide or have their own suffering, and then you're hearing about it. So that's the challenge, isn't it? You're receiving what we call mental objects, sights, sound, taste, smell, touch, from the whole world. That's a lot to ask from one little human being, me, you. We've got to learn how to manage that. So you have to learn how to manage your phone and the amount of information you're receiving, the amount of information you can process. So one thing if you can introduce for kids when they're really young, is how to put a phone down, how to turn the tablet off, but not simply because mum and dad say so, but get them to see the value of also not being a total slave to the technology. Use technology for your advantage, but don't become enslaved to it. So, like people do, they go on camps where they leave the phone or the tablets behind. There's no power, so they can't charge them. Go for a walk, teach kids to go for walks in the forest. Obviously, if you can, get them to practice meditation where they put the technology down. So they're familiar with at least shorter or longer periods where they are setting aside the technology. If you can encourage that and introduce that more and more, they've got a taste of it. It's giving them a chance to know, technology isn't everything. And just encourage them to reflect on their own behaviors. How many hours a day are you using your phone, your technology? How is the stuff that you're looking at affecting you emotionally? How does it come up in your mind? So meditation and any meditative technique will help there, introducing them to that. Also just giving conversation guidance when they're young, with the idea that when they get older, then they can have that responsibility that this technology is useful, but it can also, it's a double-edged sword. It can also be very harmful. So how can I remain in charge of the technology rather than the technology taking charge of me? So it's a question you introduce and try and help them think it through. And we have to be examples ourselves when we're thinking for ourselves, and then also encouraging them to. And it's quite, get them to see it's quite all right not to know what's going on in the world. Because, they'll feel, I'm getting left behind, or, get them to the point where they can go to school on Monday and their friends say, what did you do over the weekend? Nothing. That's fine, that's good. Because if we're honest, I think parents are often half of the problem, isn't it? You've got to give all the kids the activities to keep up with the other parents, the other families. You've got to do this, do that, do that. So they're pushing and pushing. So try and do it in a balanced way. I'm not saying don't do activities and don't know about the world. Of course, you've got to know about the world, but in a balanced way. We also got to know how to turn off. Because the best mind is a mind that is free from obsessions, addictions, attachments. That's the best mind, the most fulfilling mind, where it's, you might say, self-fulfilled, where you have inner sense of well-being and, you can pick your phone up or put it down. That would be your ideal. That's what you're aiming for. You have that ability to use technology, but if it's not necessary, I can also turn it on, put it down. Introduce that kind of goal if they can see that. And that, half the stuff we read is totally frivolous, unimportant to ourselves, our well-being, not necessary. And unfortunately, some of the stuff we read and see is totally harmful. If you keep reading or seeing pictures of wars and people suffering, or a lot of sensual stuff, because we get a lot of sensuality through our senses, through the technology, get them to reflect. There's a harmful side to that. How much is the right amount for us to absorb in these things? What's it doing to us? What's the results? Any way you can get kids or older people to reflect on cause and effect. You might call this karma. If you keep watching negative news, and most news is fairly negative, you might well feel depressed, sad, feel like it's hopeless. This world is far too, it's a difficult place to live in. There's nothing I can do about it. You just feel overwhelmed by it, and many people do. So get people to see the danger in that and learn how sometimes to turn off, get things in perspective. Even though it's sad, if there's things going on in the other parts of the world, people suffering, of course it's sad, but at the same time, maybe there's nothing you can do, so there's no need to know too much about it. You just read the headline and then move on. You don't need to read all the gory details or see all the videos or whatever, but just accept. So any way you can introduce Dhamma so that they've got some understanding and wisdom. So if their favorite movie star or singer commits suicide, talk about it, oh, with compassion. Oh, that's sad. They committed suicide. Why did this happen? Get them to start reflecting rather than just, oh, it's terrible, the world is coming to an end, rather than just getting caught up in the emotional reaction all the time. Introduce the ability to just stop, think about things more deeply, try and understand. And just see technology as something we have to use, but we don't have to be a slave to it. That's the goal.